Well, hello. I'm David Ben Murphy, and welcome to what I call the Confessional. We have a bit of an echo, I think, in here. I'm still testing things, getting things straightened away gradually. So we have an opening topic. It's really just a attention grabber. What is a crime against nature? Now, by the way, this show, or whatever you want to call it, is dedicated to confession of our sins publicly. And the reason for that is to escape secrecy, privacy. Secrecy, I think, is one of the greatest elements that enables sin to continue in our life long past the time when we forsake it, try to leave it behind. It's inspired by words that I think the Lord spoke to me over 30 years ago, stressing the importance of James 5:16, which is, confess your faults one to another and pray for each other that you might be healed. The prayers of a righteous man availeth much. It's funny, I don't think I've ever seen that applied by Christians at any time in my lifetime. My greatest point of reference is, of course, going to confession as a Catholic child. I was brought up a Catholic, went to Catholic parochial schools and high school, an all-boy Catholic high school in New York. Stepinac High School is where I graduated from, although I spent a year and a half being taught by Jesuits at Fordham Prep, part of Fordham University in the Bronx. It's funny that none of that really established me as a Catholic. I abandoned Catholicism when I was 17. The practice of going to confession continually, once a week, even twice a week. The idea of coming in and out of the state of grace, the idea of being saved on a Saturday night and Sunday and then falling back into mortal sin and the punishment of hell on Monday and Tuesday until you get back to confession, maybe on Wednesday. It just tore me apart, and it seemed insane. It was making me insane, and I walked away completely from any Christianity for several years. But I wasn't. I didn't really become a true follower of Jesus, though, for another 20 years beyond that. I followed myself. My feelings was my true God. If I felt it was right, it was right. My goodness me. It's funny what people can believe. By the way, this is a call-in show. We're live. We attempt to be live anyway. Every Saturday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And it lasts for as long as it lasts. If anybody calls in, this could be a long show. So far, no one has heard me, or no one has acknowledged hearing me. Our toll-free number, and it is active during the broadcast, at 866-471-4321. Call in, you're on the air. A good old-fashioned call-in radio show. It means that we can talk about anything that you want to talk about. You can ask me any question and see if I lie or not. The one thing it is not is, preaching, at least in a calculated, pre-formulated way. There may be some preaching that happens. There may be intellectual thoughts bantered about. But the purpose of this is to, for each of us, to speak about our experiences, and in particular to try to speak the truth. Oh, speaking of truth, the opening topic was supposed to be crime against nature. 25 years ago, when I was last going to law school, that expression came up in the older court cases concerning sodomy, I think, and homosexuality, and cases of a sexual nature that back in the old days were really crimes that would set you away for a long period of time, making little ones out of big ones, as my dad used to express it. He was a lawyer in New York. Never handled criminal cases, though. That description always amused me. Crime against nature. So the proposition I have is that the purpose of sex is procreation. I mean, the first and foremost purpose. That's certainly true in the animal world. But it's also true with us. And we've gotten so far away from it back in the 60s when contraception and abortion, of course in 73, with the Roe versus Wade case, became legal in this country, and birth control was legal before that, before abortion was. It stemmed over the right of privacy. And privacy is the ability to have secrets. And secrets is where the power of sin resides. So, crime against nature. So I'm saying that sexual acts that don't have the possibility of bringing about new life is a crime against nature. My argument is not really intellectual. It's nor is anything I really talk about or try to talk about on this broadcast intellectual. There's intellect involved. It may not be good intellect, but there's intellect. What I'm trying to do is convey the matter of conscience. I think that every child ever born in this world, in any part of the world, with or without a knowledge of the Bible or God or anything else, has an inherent sense of right and wrong. And I guess the first experience of my life and most people's lives is discovery of masturbation. In my case, it was October 1962, memorable month. That was the month of the missiles of October, when we were on the verge of nuclear war. My mother would stock cans of food in vast amounts in the garage. And I didn't really follow it at the time, but many people were thoughtful it was going to be our last days on Earth. Funny thing is, I'm not sure that's changed. A friend just said last night, hey, we got about another 6 days or so and Iran's going to be wiped out by Israel because they're going to find out about the existence of a live nuclear bomb, and it's going to be bye-bye Iran, courtesy of Israel. A preemptive strike. Could be. I don't really know about these things, and who does? Certainly you can't rely upon the media, whatever in the media, to tell the truth. And that's really the topic of our conversation here. What is the truth? And there's now a little picture of me, and our phone number is up on the chart here, 866-471-4321. That's for live on the air. When we are live, that number will work. And again, we'll try to be here every Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern. So I was talking about October 62, and just my discovery of masturbation was a natural process. It was even innocent at first. Didn't stay innocent for long. And I'll point out the fact that I didn't know what it was. I mean, I didn't know the name for it for probably a couple of years. When I finally heard the word masturbation, it sounds so ugly to me. I couldn't possibly describe what I was experiencing. I remember my dad said, when the word first came up, I don't understand those long Latin words, which was very funny. He loved long Latin words. Being a product of Catholic education, at least in the university level, and a graduate of Fordham Law School, he loved Latin. But it wasn't something I was ever proud of. I thought I had discovered some secret of the universe, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. Particularly my brother. I had a fraternal twin brother, because he died about a year and a half ago. His body riddled with cancer. He, as far as I know, rejected God, rejected the idea of anything being beyond this life. He hoped for nothingness beyond the grave. That's not what he got, because each of us has eternal being. And it's just a question of where we're going to be in eternity, not if we're going to be. So, we're talking about crimes against nature and what is nature. People will say that masturbation is a natural thing. But I never heard anybody, expressing pride over it. It was something secret, something to be concealed, something to be kept private. And we get back to that subject of privacy and secrecy being essential elements of this sin and every sin. I mean, the one thing I've noticed is that anytime that there's sin, there are lies involved. Lying before, during, and after. Lying before, you could say, I deserve this, whatever it is you want to do. And while you're doing it, this isn't so bad. And afterwards, nobody saw me, it didn't happen. Prove it. But these are lies. It's not true. First time I stole that little candy bar, Chuckles, the 5-center from the Grand Union supermarket in my hometown. I looked both ways, made sure no one was watching, and I took it outside and gobbled it down very, very quickly. Looked around, threw away the wrapper, and I got away with it. Secrecy. But did I know it was wrong? Of course I did. And I think we all know when things are wrong. Crime against nature. We're at a point now where there's no such thing. It's an antiquated expression, an antiquated idea. Again, it was used in the old court cases. Today, people wouldn't even know what you were talking about. But, indeed, crime against nature. So, birth control is unnatural, and that became legalized even before abortion became legalized. But how often do you hear preachers in the Protestant world, in the greater sense of Christian churches, ever talking about it? It is something that is carefully avoided. No preacher that I've ever heard has spoken about it. It's something that you hear about in the Catholic Church. And the Catholics are, to speak something in their favor, at least they have a sense of right and wrong pretty well nailed down. It's wrong. Birth control is wrong because it denies the possibility of giving life. And sex was meant to be a gift and distributor of life. Procreation, that word. We create art, I suppose, and music. And I think in science we discover, not so much that we create, we discover what already exists. But music, art, creation, procreation is probably the closest many of us get to creation. Many of us don't write music. Most of us don't draw or paint or sculpt art. I know that I'm no kind of artist. I do write music, and some of it I think is even original, and some of it I like. I know I like it if I can remember it beyond 10 minutes after creating it. Seems to be the test for me. So, we got away from condemning contraception. That detached us, I think, from the idea that sex was about generating new life. We got away from that, and we stayed away from that. And now, anything goes. In fact, anything. Maybe the biggest lie in our society right now, or maybe the most important one, is that there's a difference. That there is no difference between sex and gender. Our granddaughter admits that she's a female. There are undeniable physical characteristics of that. But on her identification card, she doesn't drive yet, on her ID card it does say male. And she identifies with being male in gender. So there's a clear example of female sex, but male gender. And this kind of thing, these thoughts, that very thought, was unthinkable even 20 years ago. There had always been homosexuals, bisexuals, gays, lesbians. That goes way back throughout my entire life. But it was called that. If you preferred a woman over a man and you were a woman, you were a lesbian or a woman homosexual. It didn't take any fancy reasoning, rationale. Well, anyway, the question, and all important questions, all serious questions, is a matter of conscience. I think everybody knows in their heart what is right and true. Of course, that conscience can become seared, numbed, inoperable. I know that mine was for many years. It's just that it couldn't stay that way. If I was going to have a relationship with God, God is holy, and every time that I sought my own way, would choose sin, I have to unchoose Him. I couldn't pray and sin at the same time. So I spent a lot of time sinning, not very much time praying, not very much time reading the Bible. Actually, that's something that only started a little over 30 years ago. In the first almost 50 years of my life, 45, it was actually 42 or so, when I came to a true acknowledgement of God. I never read the Bible for myself at all. I listened to it from the pulpit, various pulpits, Protestant pulpits, and the little snippets you get from the Mass. But I never sat down with the book to read for myself, and that's actually what changed my life. When I did, I realized that it was talking to me, and it was asking me to do things, to be obedient, and to start paying whatever price that meant. Well, maybe next time we'll get into my biography. Over the last year, I've been journaling is the expression, except it's not a journal of my day-to-day activities. It's been a journal of my entire life. It's not that I intended to do that from the beginning, but that's what it's become. And it's good to examine your life. Who was it that said the unexamined life isn't worth living? I'll have to look that up. Again, this is not an intellectual presentation. It's not meant to be, but there will be snippets of thought, feeling. This show, if that's what it is hopefully designed to make you think and feel and consider what's right and wrong in your life. Acknowledge that, like me, I'm a miserable sinner, and everyone is, except you can put that in the past tense. There's less sin in my life. I'm still a sinner, but I'm not dedicated to it. I don't defend it. I don't try to justify it. And there's a price for sin. It's not free. There was never any free love. That was one of the great lies of my generation. Free love. I never experienced free love. There was the love that you got with cash was a lot less expensive than any other form. It was very expensive. The consequences of sin are expensive. Sexual sin particularly. The consequences can go on for generations. Very long-standing. That's one of the lies. When you get into sexual sin, you think no one knows about it. There's no sign of it. It didn't really happen. And those are all great lies indeed. Anyway, folks, I hope that this broadcast is discovered, and then at some point we get a phone call from somewhere out there. 866-471-4321 is the toll-free number, but it's only active when we're live on the air. But if you catch us live, you can call in and express whatever you have on your mind or heart. And we'd love to talk to you. And, well, till next time, or the first time, I'll say, God bless you all, and bye-bye.